A little over a century ago, this empty forest was a city. Several thousand people, dozens of hotels and saloons. Today, there's no road to it. The streets are gone, the buildings are gone, and the only thing the forest couldn't hide is back in the trees, rows of weathered wooden headboards leaning in the moss. This is Dyea. It roared to life in a single year and was erased almost as fast. By the end of this video, I'll show you those headboards up close and why they're the most unsettling thing left in the whole town. In 1896, prospectors struck gold in the Klondike, deep in Canada's Yukon. The news triggered one of the largest stampedes in history. About 100,000 people dropped everything to chase it. But to reach the gold, you first had to cross the coastal mountains, and one of the only ways through began right here. Dyea sat at the foot of the Chilkoot Trail, the shortest, steepest route to the Yukon. Almost overnight, a Tlingit fishing camp became a city, as ships dumped thousands of would-be miners onto the mudflats. By the spring of 1898, somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000 people lived here, a city built on a single promise, that the trail behind it led to riches. The trail would also turn out to be a killer. The Chilkoot was short, about 33 miles, but brutal. The final climb was a near vertical wall of ice, so steep the stampeders cut some 1,500 steps into it. They called it the Golden Stairs, and you couldn't climb it just once. The Canadian authorities refused to let anyone into the Yukon without a full year's supply of food, roughly 1 ton of goods per person. No one could carry a ton up that wall in a single trip. So they climbed it again and again, dozens of times, ferrying their outfit up piece by piece, covering 1,000 miles on foot just to move their gear over one pass. It was only a matter of time before the mountain collected. On Sunday, the 3rd of April, 1898, Palm Sunday, the weather turned. Days of warm wind and heavy snow had loaded the slopes. Tlingit packers and seasoned guides warned everyone off the mountain, but the gold was waiting, and a long line pushed toward the summit anyway. In the afternoon, the mountain let go. A wall of snow came down on the men strung out below it, covering 10 acres, 30 to 50 feet deep. Dozens were buried alive. Hundreds of stampeders ran to dig with shovels, boards, bare hands, pulling some out alive hours later. One story has been retold ever since, though some of its details have since been questioned. A young woman named Vernie Woodward digging out Arthur Yappy, lifeless in the snow, and working over him for 3 hours until, the story goes, he came back. Others were not so lucky. The final toll has never been certain. Most accounts put it near 65, the deadliest single day of the entire gold rush. The unclaimed dead were buried at the edge of town, in a graveyard they called the Slide Cemetery. You'd think a disaster that killed dozens would be the end of Dyea. It wasn't. The thing that actually killed the town was much quieter, and it was being built just a few miles away. Skagway sat at the foot of a rival route, the White Pass. Longer but gentle enough to lay railroad track. Once the White Pass and Yukon Route Railway opened, the math was simple. Why climb a wall of ice dozens of times when you could ride over the pass in a train? Almost overnight, the human river that had flooded into Dyea dried up and shifted to Skagway. The Chilkoot Trail, the reason Dyea existed, became obsolete. By the 1900 census, the population had fallen from thousands to about 250. A year later, barely 70 remained. The city wasn't destroyed in a night, it was simply left. And then nature went to work. The Dyea River began to wander, chewing away at the old town site, and spruce and cottonwood rose up through the foundations until the streets disappeared entirely. Today, there is almost nothing to tell you a city was ever here. Overgrown foundations in the grass, a row of broken pilings in the tidal mud, where steamers once unloaded thousands of dreamers. And back in the trees, the Slide Cemetery, dozens of weathered markers, many sharing a single date, April 3rd, 1898. Dyea didn't vanish. We know exactly where it is. The North just took it back, one quiet year at a time. So here's the question worth sitting with. How many other towns are out there in the trees, already erased, that simply haven't been remembered yet? If you know one, tell me in the comments. And subscribe, because the far north is full of them. In 1898, this empty forest was a city of thousands, the gateway to the deadliest trail of the Klondike Gold Rush. Then, on Palm Sunday, the mountain came down. An avalanche buried dozens of people alive on the Chilkoot Trail, the deadliest single day of the entire gold rush. But that's not even what killed the town. A few miles away, a railroad opened through an easier pass, and almost overnight, everyone left. Within 5 years, the city of thousands was simply gone. Today, all that's left is a row of wooden graves in the trees, most marked with the same date, April 3rd, 1898. So where did everyone go? The full story is on the channel.